Welcome back to How Soccer Explains Leadership. Thanks again for being a part of the conversation. Welcome to season 13. I'm Phil Dark, your host, and with me is my brother, my co-host, Paul Jobson. Paul, how you
Oh,
doing, man?
good, Phil. Man, how are things going over there? We are, just rocking and rolling on a whatever day today is. I think it's a Thursday, in Waco,
It is a
Texas.
it is a Thursday, but that
I gotta,
shows how life is going, I think,
man,
huh?
it is flying by. School has started, sports have started. We're in the thick of it. It's fun, it's exciting, it's nonstop, and things are going well here, man. So I'm
I
excited
love it.
about today's show. But how are things been out there in Cali land?
I'm excited that we were able to do that kickoff show because I think we got a great just overview of our respective lives, and
Yeah.
as we kicking off season 13, being able to see where we're at and just everything going on in our respective families and life lessons. So if you didn't listen to that kickoff show, I encourage you to go back and do that because it kind of gives you some insight into the things that we've been learning, and hopefully we can all learn together as we're doing this show. The other thing I learned this morning beforehand is that, Paul, you are definitely svelte. And we have looked up the origin of the word, and we have seen that it's slender and elegant. And you, my friend, I'm just looking at you. And if you're not watching on the video, you just need to see Paul's svelteness. And if you don't know what it means, look it up because you're gonna definitely say, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I
If there's one
appreciate the
thing Paul
compliment.
is, he is svelte.
I
That's all I'm
appreciate the
thinking.
compliment. I can say for sure I've never been called svelte, but I'm gonna
Yes.
take it. I'm probably get some t-shirts made.
You should.
Definitely throw it around the house a lot.
Yep.
That
Yes.
I am. So thank you for that.
Let
You
your kids
spell
know.
how do you spell svelte?
It's SVELT. I mean, now that I am, I have to know how to spell it.
Yes, you need to know how to spell it so
If
you
you're
can put it
making
on the shirts. So,
yeah, you better.
and with that, folks, welcome to our brother Greg Rubendall. And Greg has been on this show before. If you go way back in the annals, I probably should have had the episode number by the end of the show. I will get that for you. It'll definitely be in the show notes. You can go back and listen to that other conversation we have with Greg. But this is the second time we've had him on. Fortunately, we're going to just have a really cool conversation with Greg just about a lot of different things. So just stay tuned, buckle up, be ready for a really fun conversation that we're going to have with Greg that's also going to have a lot of really good leadership nuggets for you. So, Greg, before we get into that, can you just share kind of what you've been up to since the last time we had you on? How you doing?
What year was it? Do you remember?
Oh man, it was 21, maybe
2021?
22, 21 or 22.
Was I
Let me
married
look
yet?
it up. Now you're
Was
gonna
I
make me look it up
was I
here.
married yet? Because I got
You were
married.
not. You were not married yet.
What? Oh man, so much has changed then. So much has changed.
Give
Holy,
us an update, Greg. What's been going
yeah.
on
Give
since
us the
since
update.
uh since
Oh,
then? Update
sorry.
us.
I thought he was looking it up.
I am
I
looking
was
up
just
when it
thinking.
was, but
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, got married October 21st, 2022. I got engaged to my now wife at a place called Jewel Lake. Got married at the place that when she drove by it at Sac State said, I want to get married there. And it was the best day of my life. All my friends and family spent way more money than I had,
mm-hmm.
but it was worth every penny. It goes so far when you're with the right people. We made our own specialized cocktails. And if you do, Phil, want to do an episode of Cribs, I will take you through the life of Greg Rubendall later on, but I think we should chat about it first.
Yes, we will do that later if the audience demands an episode of Cribs with Greg Rubendall. We will have to do it. So, folks, if you really want that, or if
Uh,
you don't want that, let us know, and we will take a vote.
Hold
But
on.
I will tell you, it was May 12th, 2021 is when the first one released. And so it was before that, and I was correct on that. So, yeah, that's awesome, man. I love it. I love it. I will say, I have a feeling today is going to compete for that best day of your life just because you're on the show for the
Oh,
second time. I mean, learning Paul Svelte, like all these things, it's got to be up there in the
Yeah.
days.
I
That's
would
all I'm saying.
say it's the next book.
Yeah.
Today is
Okay.
the first page of the next book.
Okay. Good. Good. That's
That's what I
good to
would say.
hear. That's good to
First
hear.
page of it, like volume number 372 that was there. This is 373.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, so, well, how about, I mean, obviously we all know, Paul and I both
Mhm.
know, you get married, everything changes, it's for better or worse, and it's mostly better. And that's been something that, I know you obviously, as you're talking here, that's been the case as well. But beyond that, like in the, you've wearing a lot of different hats in the soccer world. So what's that looking like for you? Or literally hats and figurative hats. So, what's that looking like for you now? And kind of run us through that. What's that look like over
Yeah.
the last few years?
So I was last time I was here as the director of coaching, Livermore Fusion, East Bay, where the Lawrence Livermore labs are, a whole bunch of nerds shooting lasers at each other. My grandfather was a nuclear physicist for Lawrence Livermore, but he was in Los Alamos. So he
Wow.
took stuff and sent it over there. I recently did a grok of him, and he had 300 flight hours in World War II. He married a nurse, and he had a very fantastic life. His What he knows at the dinner table, Pepe or Nick or Dad, what did you do? What'd you do at work today? Sorry, can't tell you. Was it fun? Yes. And then my mom, who child of the 60s, goes to the East Bay, and that's where she met my dad at the park that I got engaged at, by the way, unbeknownst to me, says, "Why do you build weapons of war?" And what was her answer, Phil? Or what was my grandfather's answer? Sorry.
I have no idea.
If we
Probably,
don't, I know who I work with, and if we don't do it, somebody else will.
yeah.
And I can't necessarily trust that person. I trust what we're doing and how we're doing it and how it's locked in a vault or whatever. And
He's
so
through strength is basically what he's saying.
yeah, it's like I have this thing that you don't want me to use,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I thought of that, and I'm actually my middle name is his, so Nicholas. And yeah,
So you're
so
basically a nuclear physicist, is what you're saying.
I'm a biomechanist, so I'm a
Yeah.
sport physicist.
Yes. Okay. Good.
So what am I doing right now? So fast forward. We were talking a little bit about French earlier. So svelte is French. I am part French. My grandmother was. Do you know what the phrase cultiver notre jardin means?
Something about
Okay.
Nope.
garden.
Okay. So have you heard of Voltaire,
Yes.
the philosopher? He has a famous book. Do you know what it is?
Candide.
It is. What's the last line of that book?
No recollection.
Cultiver notre jardin. You already knew it, but cultivate
I
our
couldn't
garden.
tell you.
Yeah.
I didn't remember the French, so I
Yeah, yeah.
couldn't tell you.
It was in English too.
Oh,
So
okay.
cultivate our garden. So like Notre Dame, like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what Dame means, but our whatevers. Um, but cultivate our garden, right? And everywhere I've gone, everything I've done is to look around and look at problems and try and identify solutions. So at Livermore Fusion, we got perfectness, like in terms of all the tools for success. And I was at a rec all-star day. And at that day, there's a timeline. The executive director's away, the girls director's away. I'm in charge essentially. And I set a time, and time slipped away. People were late. There was no, uh, what would you call it? Um, uh, like pressing moment. Like this is for me the best thing we do. We call it the Fusion World Cup. It's all the future of the club, and they represent different countries, and their parents and grandparents make signs, and their aunts and uncles, and it's the best of what we do, and without a doubt, the best of what we do. We celebrate the children of our community and their collective ability. Now we use it as a way to identify potential talent, right? And then also the coaches nominate what they see as potential talent. Now, obviously, the top team probably has more talented players than the bottom team, but of the bottom team, these are the guys, right? So It's like everybody has a little incubator, and they're growing, and like in this garden, this is the most beautiful flower, but in this garden, we have a lot more beautiful flowers. So so this cultivate our garden is kind of how I look at this. So after that, when people didn't respect the purpose of the event, and how important it is to me, I decided in that moment, I'm not working here anymore. They don't value what I value. And that's okay, because they maybe just don't know and understand like I do. That kids graduate high school and you go back to them and you say, "Hey, what was the thing that you remember most about being in this club?" And it was that day. That's the one that changed for them.
Mhm.
Like that's when I fall in love with soccer, because they're just surrounded by love and adoration. They're in a cocoon of excitement. So anyway, I decided that on January 1, went to Europe in December, Jan 1, put in my notice. Hey, I'm leaving. And I stuck around till June 1 to help with the transition period, which was not easy. It was a lot of, interviews with people, potential candidates, and, a couple of people who ended up coming in are people that I know very, very well, that have a lot of significance to me and a lot of potential. But like anybody, they have their perspective, and they need to step back and assess the situation as they see fit, rather than try and pull it in a direction that they want to go. So they have to just sit back and be like, okay, what do I know? And how does that fill the gaps? Okay. So June 1's my last day. What am I going to do with my life?
Is that this
People,
year?
yeah,
2025?
yeah.
Okay, so this
Yeah.
is
So
all
this is,
recent.
yeah.
Got it.
So
Yeah, okay.
so spent the summer going to Club World Cup games all over the US, went to Atlanta, went to Charlotte, went to LA. I bought 2 tickets for the Gold Cup final in Houston, and had probably the most amazing day with challenges. And I made it. I'll tell you, I made it to the game. How did I get there? That's a long story. We don't have time for that. Very fantastic, by the way. Um, yeah, and so now I'm launching a multi-sport club in the Midtown Sacramento area called ASC Midtown. ASC stands for Athletic Sport Club. So it's a multi-sport club. My passion is soccer, obviously, but over the years has become futsal, because land seems to be one of the limiting resources in the US. We need big fields and big, big, big. But I live in urban areas. I live in downtown. I like the dirty. I like the busyness, because that's what my life is like. And so what I was doing is looking at, okay, where are the places that I can rehabilitate? And in Sacramento, there's a saying which I don't like: South Sac, Iraq.
Hmm.
And so in South Sac, Iraq, why is that? I've never been there. I've lived here 10, 11 years now. I've never been to South Sac. Why? Because there's no fields, and I live on a field. So what am I going to do? Start initiatives to build futsal courts on already existing places, and create little, urban social clubs, right? Everybody hangs out at church, they hang out at the basketball court. And there's a friend of mine, Connie Constantine, if you don't know him, his whole initiative builds 600,000 futsal courts in America and will win the World Cup. I'm thinking, based on what I've seen in market, if we do that, we need to diversify and create 100 different countries, because no, we have too many players. Like we would rise so far and high that it would be like, no, guys, we can't even, like, how do you pick? Well, we had 25 kids, right? Now we have 25,000. Like, how do you
Hmm.
pick the best 18? Like, that's an impossible task. So, when I was in Europe, went to Hoffenheim, which is essentially a research laboratory for soccer, town of 12,000 people with a stadium of 18,000. But it's a lab that articulates data with Copa Soccer Training Center in Concord, about 3 blocks from where I grew up. Which, if I was there when I was growing up, I would have been like the lab rat. Like, just keep feeding me, keep putting me in classes, like bang, bang, bang. But yeah, so I'm doing sports science, and within this ASC Midtown, There's a 4-court complex in Natomas that they built at Robertson Park, which ironically enough is the place that Livermore Fusion was at. And I'm calling it the lab, and doing applied biomechanics. So in biomechanics, because it's physics, there's 2 types: quantitative and qualitative. So quantitative is like the computer data, right? It's how video games look like the people, because EA Sports brings in Ronaldo, Messi, whoever, puts bodysuits on them and gives them all these perceptual tests, and then that rendering goes into a computer, and that's why video games look so real. Those are real people. And then you look at qualitative biomechanics, and that's what I do in the field. So like what is moving and how do you move, right? What is efficiency? There's a research article from my advisor at Chico State, Jackie Hudson, Dr. Hudson. So if you're out there, Dr. Hudson, your core concepts were not lost on me. Look it up, the 10 core concepts of kinesiology. It's a very simplified data or paper that for me is revolutionary. And if you read it and you say, physics of sport is that simple? The answer is yes, it is that simple, yet also that complex, right? In classes, we would have extremely long conversations of why Shaq sucked at free throws. Why did Shaq suck at free throws? Somebody's got to know. It was like
They didn't
holding a
practice. I know that.
no. It was like
No,
holding.
I'm gonna guess that anybody else who's shooting free throws isn't shooting free throws from basically where he's shooting free throws. I mean, he's basically closer to the rim in some respects. So the arc and all that's probably a little bit different was what I would guess. Who could teach
Okay.
him to do it maybe?
Okay. Did Shaq need to learn how to do free throws?
No, that wasn't his game.
Yeah. What's the hack of Shaq?
The inside the lane dunk.
No, where they fouled him
They just
intentionally
fouled
to
him.
make him,
Oh,
yeah,
to get
to
him on that.
make
Yeah,
him
yeah.
shoot free throws.
To get him out of the
Yeah.
lane.
Yeah. And did it change NBA? They changed the rules to say you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't just foul that guy. But he was a beast. How many backboards did that guy rip down? I don't know.
Probably more than anybody else.
Well, it's funny
Shaq
you
probably
say
knows.
Shaq because he's now in our backyard, right? So I just saw a picture of him with
Is
my
he?
buddy.
I'm in downtown. Where is he? I'm just kidding.
He's literally the Sac State director of operations now for
Yeah.
basketball, and so he was at a thing at Golden One with a buddy of mine, and my buddy's like 5'5" and standing next to him, and he looked like a little midget. It was
Yeah.
pretty funny. But I want to, as much as I'd love to talk, there's actually a fascinating Malcolm Gladwell episode on free throws and Rick Barry and the underhanded free throw and why he was the highest, free throw percentage of anybody, and all these different things, and why the underhanded free throw is the way to go, but no one does it because they don't want to look silly out there. But it's the best way to shoot a free throw. Anyway, I strongly recommend that. I'll put that in the show notes if I can find it. But it was one of my favorite episodes. It was fascinating. I was listening to my family like, no way, this is so cool. But it goes to, so much of what people do on the field, on the courts, on the whatever is image, and it's how it makes you look. And if it makes you look silly, even if it's effective, people aren't doing it because they don't want to look silly. It was really interesting. But anyway, I do want to focus on a point you made though, and I don't remember the French, but the cultivate the garden. It goes to a quote or not quote, a thing that I say all the time. People that have listened to the show know that my why is to help others flourish and make good things better, similar to what you were talking about there, Greg. But this idea of as leaders, and I'd be curious to hear, Paul too, if you have thoughts on this, but I think we've probably talked about it at some point. But as leaders, our job really, in any situation that we're in, is to cultivate an environment where everybody can flourish. Everyone under our leadership can flourish. Not just some, not just the best, not just bring up the worst, not just have the middle and everyone kind of comes to the middle. It's to help create an environment, or it's to actually create an environment as the leader where everyone under your leadership can flourish. So what does that look like? And as you're talking through this, I love this concept of, and we hear it's not rocket science, because all you got to do is look around the world, right? It's like, if you have more places where people can play pickup soccer, if you have more places where people can just play this game in short, and be able to work on their skills and their whatever, and just learn the game, you're
Mhm.
going to have more kids playing, and more kids playing in creative ways. The creativity comes from pickup, from unstructured play. We had that conversation with Ruth, Paul, right? That
Yeah.
that Ruth Brennan Memorial, about unstructured play and the power of unstructured play that we lack so much. Most of what we have is structured because we don't have field space. We don't have, I mean, I out here in Folsom, El Dorado Hills, the suburb of suburbs. My kids' team has to practice at this little elementary school because there's too many clubs in our area, and all the clubs fight over these fields, and they literally will. What's happening now in youth sports is just so wrong on so many levels. There are clubs that are actually reserving all of the fields in the city so that no other club can have them, even though they don't need them. They're not even using them. They're just reserving them. And so when you look at that, and then you say, well, if they're reserved, other kids can't play there either, right? So to create these other futsal things, that's one way to be able to say, we want to be able to create these unstructured play areas that will help these the all everyone under this whatever quote unquote leadership. They don't even know where they're under the leadership, but this leadership of how can we make sports more accessible? How can we make sports better? How can we help these kids flourish who might not otherwise have a chance to play a game? Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
All right, you lost me at no, at field rentals. No, I'm kidding. It's exactly why I decided to step away, because I don't want to be part of the machine, because the things that you see are the things that I know as a foot soldier on the ground, talking to coaches, talking to parents, talking to players, watching the lack of ability, the number of kids who do not have joint mobility and articulation and dynamic movement skills is catastrophic. Let me repeat that. How kids move today, in general, even if they're athletic, is catastrophic, right? They are going to be injured based on how they are moving in a general sense, right? Now you talk about the specific superheroes of any given sport, right? You're gonna love the thing you love, right? The kids who are dirt bikers are amazing dirt bikers because they just find like that's their jam, or rowers, or sprinters. So like in the subsets of sport, because we're creating sport incubators in different sports. The problem is that the cross between soccer, where we become so obsessed about being soccer players, because that was how we were popular in middle school, or elementary school, or high school, or college, or pro. That's how we got status. We are defining ourselves by our experience to children who have a future experience, and they're not where you are, they are where you were. So you have to go to that moment back in your life where you didn't know anything, but you fell in love with that thing. What is that thing? I can't tell you, because you fell in love with it and you said, they did a thing in first grade. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a fireman. Why? Because I want to prevent fires and save people and leap tall buildings. Okay, great. That's an amazing, helping, productive thing for humanity. I did that I was teaching PE, third graders, and I gave a 17-minute oratory at St. Francis of Assisi in Concord. And I said, I'm looking around here and I see a lot of 37-year-olds living at home. And I don't know when I said that exactly, but I would say those kids are about 30 years old right now. So if you're out there listening, time is ticking, because that's what I saw. And we were working through movement activities because they couldn't control themselves. But I also gave them a really restricted space that they had to manage themselves. They had to play safe, but also complete tasks, right? And the things that I put them through psychomotricity and coordination, speed and endurance and recovery, applied biomechanics with a petri dish subject pool, right? That created an observation. I had petri dishes. So when anybody says like, "Oh, Greg Rubendall, what do you do?" In June, the first weekend of June, I have a master's certificate in the Fiorentina method, but the Fiorentina method is more just a developmental um, scientific uh, skill uh, skill development aspect, which is a curriculum. But the interesting thing, Dr. Vincenzo Virgini go. So Dr. V, you're out there. And so we went to Fiorentina. We watched this in action. Nobody understands it. It's like going to a circus or a carnival and be like, "Wow, that's really cool," and then not understanding how and why, right? So people see the carnival, but they don't understand the intent of the carnival, right? This thing is for this, and this thing is for this, but they all intertwine in the human experience. I understand how they intertwine, so I can see it differently than other people, right? Because I see its connection. Um, and so they come, and so this, the NorCal Symposium. So state associations out there of all sport create incubators of knowledge for your association. You don't have to have a national one. Create a localized meeting of the minds, that socialize, because we are all struggling trying to figure out these new kids. They are different. Their brains are different. They're being raised different. And if I hear another coach say, "Well, back in my day," no, your day is done. Your history. We're working for the future. We're understanding today, reflecting back on yesterday, and trying to plan for tomorrow.
So Paul, I'm curious. What are you thinking with all this? I mean, obviously you've had a lot of experience in a lot of different levels, and you're part of a club there in Waco, and you have kids that are younger and going through youth sports, and you obviously have this, I think we've talked about the leadership and all that, so I know that that's definitely near and dear to your heart. So what are you thinking as you're listening to this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is kind of new and fresh, and my brain's all over the place hearing Greg talk and trying to process what's jumping around in
There's
my
a lot of big
brain.
words. There's a
A
lot of
lot of
big
big
words that I'm
words,
having to
big
look
words.
up.
But I think
Good.
at the end of the
Good.
day, like
French.
one thing I can agree with, and I think this should be really generational, is it, and I was talking about this with my coaches on a call last night, actually, is, you know, every season you step into a team, you've got to identify the personalities of each of your players. And everyone is different. They all learn differently. They all think differently. They respond to things differently. So I think a really, really good coach or great coach is able to identify each of those points of those kids. And I think to your point, Greg, like anybody who kind of sits in the past, people are always changing, right? I mean, the environment is different now for kids and those things. So how we relate to kids or how we coach kids or how we lead kids is different. Now I'm even saying, because I'm, on the high end of this is from an age perspective, the coaches I'm dealing with think differently than I do. So even talking to coaches and feeling, my team are my coaches. So if
Mhm.
I'm asking them to relate to their players individually, I've got to do the same with my coaches who are a different generation than me as well. So I think anybody who's stuck in, well, this is how we've always done it, we've always heard that, you're going the wrong direction to start with. So I do think that identifying, you know, individually what kids need or what people need or whoever you're leading, what do they
Mhm.
need? Just going out and running out in front and hoping they follow you is you're going to look behind you and nobody's going to be there, right?
Yeah.
And you're not doing, if coaching is about leading young people, and it's not just about soccer, it's whatever you're doing. It's about cultivating relationship and helping them become young men and women that can be productive in their community. If they become firemen or firewomen or whatever they want to do at the end of the day, what are we teaching them in these moments? And if it's very rigid and structured and this is how we're doing it or get out, I don't think we can make those things happen. So that's where my mind kind of goes with some of this. And Greg, I've been to Hoffenheim and didn't know what I was walking into when we went. And I'm like, what? I mean, I had heard of the club, but when I'm like, oh my gosh, this really relatively small club really was leading. And this was back in 20, oh no, it must have been 2011, 2012. They were already leading in innovation of things. They had that incubator kind of idea already set. They had the computers, they had I think it's called a soccer knot. It's that little indoor gym where you're putting balls in places and following the lights. And now now you see them on a small scale, but these guys were leading before, before that was even cool. But anyway, all that just kind of wrapping back in to
So,
say, hey,
so I got to jump in here because I'm glad you know about Hoffenheim. Who owns Hoffenheim? Do you know? Who's the owner?
it's an American, isn't it?
It's the CEO of SAP.
Yeah.
And he said, you guys have 2 years before I just cut the first teams, but I will always and forever uh, uh, invest in the youth. Always.
Yeah. They
So
develop players. That's
yeah.
their thing. They develop players. They've got players all over the world, really, who come through that developmental stage.
Yeah. So I'm unlike you. I am not svelte. I am unsvelte. But I'm an athlete, right? It's more through stress and poor diet, and just I'm putting more fuel in the car than the car can handle.
Mm.
So I'm in a developmental phase of getting in shape. So I have to do an assessment, right? So I need to do a fitness assessment. I don't want to do the old school, body fat, blah blah blah. That stuff is so outdated. And whoever owns a bodysuit, a 3D rendering bodysuit, please come to my house. I want to know exactly how I move, where I don't go. Like you could probably figure out 5 minutes of movement, and I've written something that I believe you could do it. But that said, I went to Copa Soccer Training Center and I said, Barry, you're doing these free soccer assessments. Test me. Test me. I want to do the thing that we're asking these kids to do, and all of the PDP kids and college kids and pro teams are going to the soccer training center. And so they're doing it. I want to find out, where am I in this? Am I like a third grader? Am I a high school kid? Can I run with the big dogs in the pro level? And you know what I found out? I'm number one in my age category. Number one. I'm first and last. I'm the first person in my age category to take this test. And we have coaches who are saying, I know how to coach back in my day. Well, what do you look like right now? So I'll challenge anybody. Go to Copa. It's free, right? Well, for they'll probably you guys are going to be so busy, they're going to have to make you pay, right? But challenge me. I dare you right now. Who wants to beat my score? Because I'm already ahead of you. Right? I took it first, and I'll take it again. And I just want that biometric data, A, because I'm trying to get fit. B, I want to feel the experience of what we're asking children to do. How are we testing them cognitively, perceptually, speed, power? Do you know who the competitor was because I had to do it with another person, like just to compete. Do you know who it was?
Mm.
Of course you don't. You weren't there. Kellen Crow, son of Kevin Crow, who was my boss and ED, who worked for Puma in Europe, came back looking for a job, right? And I hadn't seen him. Like I worked with his brother Cameron, but Kellen and Cameron both played for Dianza Force in the DA back in the day. Kellen played for USF, I want to say, and then went to Europe and learned business, and now is coming back and doing brand stuff. And he and I both not in what we would call ideal shape. And he was looking to see, like, what's my next step in life. So Kellen, if you're out there, like, come work with me, dude. I know where you're at. I know where you were, and like, let's get fit together, bro. Yeah. So that's in essence what I've stayed up to date on all the technology. I've been to the convention 15 years in a row. Anybody who's seen me at the soccer coaches convention, and it was probably very, very quickly, I'm like lightning, right? I just like ask a question, get knowledge, move on to the next. Ask a question, get knowledge, move on to the next. And I remember it was 10 years ago, maybe. And I saw Wilson. Wilson Sports was there, right? What's Wilson Sports famous for?
The volleyball in whatever the movie's
Castaway.
called, Castaway.
Okay. Who
Or
starred in
tennis balls.
who starred in Castaway?
Tom Hanks.
Okay. What is the significance of that volleyball?
This is his best friend.
Okay. What happened when he lost his best friend?
I don't remember.
I don't
What
remember.
I
He cried.
Tragedy. He cried. Then he found him. What did he say?
found
I'm gonna
you.
guess I'm never gonna let you go again.
Something like that. Wilson, Wilson, don't you ever leave me. So I say this because I go to Wilson, I grab a ball, and I say, "You want to sponsor me? You want to sponsor me?" Like, what? Why would we do that? Like, this is before the influence age. Why would I do that? I was like, watch. I drop the ball down and I kick it through the convention hall. And we're talking about every single business in the world in soccer. Kick it down and it rolls and somebody picks it up. And I run to them and I thank you for the ball. It's like, Wilson, Wilson, don't you ever leave me. And it's a funny moment, but it also is the power of like when you lose a friend and you find him again, that is what it's all. It's like reconnecting with like that's why alumni events are so important or Hall of Fame events are so important because you celebrate the past because you're not here without them. Just like and this is why people have kids. They're not here unless you have something. And as Phil, I know you're a very deeply spiritual man. I think it's extremely important that we understand that sport translates into life. We look at the challenges, we have to deal with the obstacles, and we have choices. How do we respond to the obstacles?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's positively, and sometimes it's really poor.
Now there's so much to all this, and I think the little nuggets that I want to pull out. First of all, who knew this was going to be a trivia episode, Paul? Like we're going
I
from
know. I feel like it's a
French
good game. It seems like
trivia
a good game show.
to I know I'm like
Movie trivia, book trivia. It's good.
Yeah.
I missed trivia last night at my brother-in-law does trivia at a a brewery nearby, and so maybe this is just I got my trivia this week. This is great.
Do you know by Greg Rubendall? So
Yeah,
anybody out there,
hey,
do you know?
Yeah.
new podcast that's going to be starting here. It's a trivia podcast hosted by Greg Rubendall.
Sponsored by
Little did you,
Wilson.
yeah, it was
Sponsored by
sponsored by
Wilson.
Wilson, and
No, they lost their chance. They lost their
and
chance.
Next up.
Voltaire sponsoring him as well. Because not many people talk about Voltaire on How Soccer. Now I got to put Candide in the show notes. But anyway, no, but I think one of the great leadership lessons, and again, it goes to what you're talking about here, is something that is a a age old lesson, which is leaders are learners. And if you're not learning, you're dying, right? Like that idea. I tell my kids are laughing now at me because I'm on Duolingo like 3-4
Okay.
hours a day, not quite, like
Okay.
2 hours a day. I'm learning Spanish because I do a lot of work in Honduras, so that makes sense. But my daughter's dating a Norwegian, so I'm learning Norwegian, just so I can at least say hello and thank you and tusen takk, which is thank you very much in Norwegian. There's another
Well
more
done.
trivia there for you, Paul.
Yeah.
And also chess, right? Um, that is, are we more trivia? Is that what we're doing here? Is that a parrot on a jersey?
Is
What
that
flag is that? What flag is that?
it's Honduran.
That is Honduran, but it's like, why do you have a parrot on the jersey? I've never seen that jersey. Anyway, you know why? That's Honduras, right? The 5 stars. They're the
No, but
CA5. So the CA5, the 5 stars there, and Honduras is in the middle. CA5, Central America 5. So you have, do you guys know what the Central America 5 is? More trivia for our day. Come on, you got this.
Probably could guess it, but not
Guess it.
one just
Guess it. You
I'm trying
go
to think
ahead.
of the starting lineup of the LA Lakers from
Okay, so
99
you
to
got
'01.
El Salvador, Nicaragua, Paul,
Guatemala,
Guatemala,
Honduras. Oh, Honduras in the middle, so that's not
Honduras is there.
okay. Costa Rica.
There you go. You got a CA5. Okay, so Honduras is kind of in the middle of all of them, right? So that's why the 5 stars there with the flag, because almost all the CA5 are, except for Costa Rica has some red in there, are blue and white. And so when they play each other, they have to put the H or the ES on their jersey because you got to know who they are. Anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm also learning chess, right? Because chess helps with the brain and continual brain activity. But you know, to be able to learn. And then another interesting thing, my wife sent me an article or a study that MIT did on AI and the use of AI, and showing that, you know, while AI can be a really good tool for certain things, if you're relying on AI, your brain is dying because you're not doing the mental processes. MIT had this basically they did a study with brain activity when people were relying fully on AI to do everything, you know, like write this paper, do this outline, do this, do this, do this, do this, versus people who are just kind of using it as a tool, kind of like a Google search. And the one had brain activity, the one being that the ones people that were writing their own stuff and doing their own outlines and doing their own things, versus the other one that was just, it had very little brain activity. It was
Did you say
fascinating.
that
It was
you said this is
fascinating.
at MIT?
MIT did this. Yeah.
Okay, MIT, if you're out there, please invite me. There's a statue out front of MIT. So I went there to go visit Peter Lair, who was the Harvard coach at the time. I was there for my cousin's wedding. I'm the only one from my family that went. And there was a bar there called the Miracle of Science, which had food and drink and in the form of a periodic table. It was amazing. But there's a statue out front that is a conglomeration of all mathematical equations, and I had took a picture of it. It's so fascinating, this artwork. So MAT, if you're out there, I'm ready. Study my brain. I'm ready. Take me the
There you
artificial
go.
intelligence test. Go. I'm in.
I'm, you know, I was gonna say I don't know how long that would take, but I didn't want to, it could be long time, it could be not that. I don't know. I mean, we'd have to find out. That's an interesting thing. I would be afraid of that math statue because I haven't taken math since junior year of high school. So I purposely I tell my kids, I'm like, I'm not gonna be any help in math. So you guys, go to your mom or a tutor. But yeah, so it was fascinating. All that to say, because I think the idea being, even if you know how to do things and you're using AI to do certain things, we need to keep thinking. We need to keep our brain and our mind working and active. And as leaders, we need to continually be learning the new things. As you're talking about, how are we studying as leaders, as coaches, as players? Are we just doing things that we've always done? Are we just coaching how we were coached, as we like to be coached, as we've seen somebody else coach? Or are we actually engaging this? And as you said, Paul, learning our people, learning our players. That's why I do disc training with teams and with coaches and with clubs.
What's
Is disc is
sorry?
personality
What's
styles, personality
uh
styles.
so
So
kind of like the Myers Briggs.
similar but simpler. So it's a lot better for team dynamics. It's a lot easier. You can remember it. I just did it the other day with a American River College down the road, and it's when you start seeing light bulbs go off, when you start seeing this, but the coaches understanding too, oh well, who would be the good for the leadership team? Who would be good for captains? And as we've been doing it with my high school team, you see over the years that, when you talk about who's going to be captain, it's like we put together a leadership team. They determine the captains amongst themselves. Basically the only difference between a captain and a leadership member is they go out to the, center circle before the game, and they can talk to the ref during a game if the ref is, going to enforce that. But for the
They're
most
they're
part,
the they're the representative of the team's culture.
exactly. But the thing is that leadership team is too. So these are just representatives of the leadership team, which is leading the team culture. So, but you got to be careful on who you're choosing to be able to do that, because if you have certain personality styles who are unhealthy, you're going to have a toxic team. But when people don't understand that, they just think, oh, well, it's a toxic team because it's soccer and you get a bunch of people who are competitive. That's not the case. You can have very, very competitive people who are healthy and understand that, and you will have a very healthy team. Versus you could have people who aren't very competitive, who are unhealthy, and you can have a toxic team. So it has nothing to do with competitiveness. It has to do with, are you learning? Are you learning your people? Are you pouring into your people? Are you cultivating an environment where everyone can flourish? All personality styles, all different cultures, all different upbringings, all different everything, different demographics, different financial ability, different, can they speak the languages? All these different things. We can create environments where all those people can flourish. It takes thought, it takes energy, it takes actually studying what it looks like to be able to understand these people. And it may mean, yeah, I'm going to learn Spanish because my guy in Honduras speaks Spanish fluently. He doesn't speak English fluently. And I want to be able to speak in his native tongue because that's going to help him flourish more. And so can I do that? Yes, I can do that. I can do that as the leader to be able to help him flourish. So anyway, Paul, what are you thinking, man?
Yeah, I'm all over the place. Honestly, I feel like this conversation has gone like 1,000 different directions. I'm having a hard time reining it in, if I'm being honest. But I kind of want to get back to Greg. You've talked a lot about like research and technology and some of these things, and how I don't know that we've really like tied this together as to where this comes into the game. And sometimes when I think about technology and research coming into the game, and because at the beginning we talked about, how do we do a better job of making the game more accessible, right? One of the things you talked about, hey, futsal courts, you don't have to worry about fields. You got this, I feel like you're talking about bringing people together and giving more opportunity to play. And now we're talking about technology and research. And sometimes when I think about technology and research, I feel like some of that, does that not allow people to come in because that adds more finances, whatever. So what's the tie-in there for you of the research and the things you're doing from a biomechanic or whatever it is, from a science perspective to the game itself? I think I want to tie those things together because I think we're kind of splotching things around of things that you're kind of working on, and I want to kind of tie that in together and say how is that kind of tying into the game and what you're looking to do as you move forward with this with this multi-sport club, which I think I've always thought multi-sport clubs were a great idea. They do them in Europe, right? I think it's best for player development, all those things, multi-sport athletes. So maybe try to tie that in for me a little bit.
Okay. What is that right there? I'm showing an image.
No idea.
I can't see it. It looks
Okay.
like a
The moon.
blurry image of something.
Madeira. It's
Okay.
Madeira, Spain. Canary Islands. It's where Cristiano Ronaldo is from.
All right.
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo played for some team, Phil. What was it? I can't remember.
I played for several, but Manchester United's the one I think you're
There
looking
you
for.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's all I care
Yeah.
about. Okay. I don't know who the scout is that found him and how he got off the island, but I'll be honest, I took the hardest class and the lowest grade I ever got, conservation genetics. And conservation genetics talked about the diversification of species in an isolated system. So so what you're talking about is a growing incubator, right? It's a closed system. So it looked at all of the birds in the islands and where they specialize, what they looked like, but also from a genetic standpoint, how those were expressed in their genes. So what I'm saying is that Cristiano Ronaldo is a test subject of this, like a human subject of this concept of being the best of the best of the best of the best. There might be kids on that island that were his best friends who pushed him, who revered him, where he got the confidence to jump from the island to Man U, to jump from Man U to Real Madrid, to jump from Real Madrid to wherever he wants to go. The guy is in some cases, legendary, a god, right? It's the biggest fight that happens in my wife's first grade class. Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi? So that's her binary question to them. Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi? And the question I always follow up with is why. So she has for Black History Month, she does all these different things, and we watch the World Cup, France, Argentina, right? And so she was a soccer fan, but only by proxy. And so watching this game, the World Cup final, amazing, right? For those who haven't watched it, what hole do you live in? And if you haven't, go watch it. So her door was Mbappe. She had a Kylian Mbappe jersey thing, and so as the teacher, she had a half French, half Real Madrid jersey as the teacher, and then all the kids drew themselves. They put their head on Mbappe, and then they learned about Mbappe, and they did little storybooks and all this stuff, and it was such a cool project, such a cool project. And so when we look at what does it mean with all of this, and is that those moments where we're so open to possibility when we're really young, right? And we're dreaming about what life can look like or what it should look like for us. We're ready, we're open. And then it's through it's through the journey that we find our path. And it dovetails, it comes back together, all that thing. You guys didn't know you were going into conservation genetics today. I didn't know we were going there.
Paul, I'm seeing Paul. I don't see Paul. I'm going to throw another word out there. Flummoxed.
Flummoxed.
By
If
the
you're
way,
watching
just
on
to-
video,
just to-
you will see flummoxed with
edit-
Paul.
I need to make an editorial comment that svelte was spelled wrong at the top of the show. There's an E on the end. Okay.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
Spelty?
S-P-E-L-T-E.
Spelty?
So just
Maybe
wanna
that's
correct
why you were
that.
flummoxed.
I was flummoxed on my
Uh,
misspelling of the description of myself.
Got it.
So
Wow. So folks, if you didn't, if you're just listening, you're missing probably half this episode. With Greg Googling real time Madeira to show us rather than just talking about it. Paul flummoxed. You see it. I wouldn't have even had to say it, but because most people listen, we're talking. We've gone from nuclear science to MIT studies to conservation genetics to Voltaire
Hey,
to
social
chess
social
to
Darwinism. Who was
social there
Darwin? Who was Darwin? Where
and
did he study? Galapagos
the
Island turtles,
yes
right?
yes we could go trivia. We got Tom Hanks on an island with a volleyball. I mean, folks, now you're seeing why Paul's flummoxed. And then we even brought in the Messi Ronaldo debate and futsal courts.
Oh, guys, hold on one second,
oh
because I
geez,
have
what did I
to.
just
What
what
did
did I
I
just
just
start?
buy? No, what did I just buy? So you give
I
me
don't know.
10
How do we know
seconds.
what you just bought, Greg? Come on, man. Now he's running
Honduran
out.
jersey.
Oh, you guys
He's
gotta.
running out of the room.
If you are not watching this, folks, you got to watch, because now Paul and I are on a solo episode right now. Oh, he's got something. I don't know what. Oh my gosh, he's got like figurines of Pele,
Bobbleheads.
Maradona, Messi, and Ronaldo. It's like the GOAT collection. So get away all debate, because those are the four in the conversation. You can just say the GOATs and you're good to go. But if somebody's asking who's the best, you say at what position, in what era, and what are you looking for? What do you value? That's what I say. But because what about keepers and defenders? Are you just kicking them out of the conversation? But anyway, that's a whole different conversation for another day. We do need to wrap it up. Paul, how the heck are we going to wrap up this thing?
What?
I know, Greg. It's been
I don't
an
know.
hour, believe it or not.
I was gonna wrap it up with a picture of the Hoffenheim Stadium is what I was gonna do.
Is that what you were
So
going to do?
It was actually
So
my trip
amazing.
was 2016, actually. So I
Okay.
got the date way off.
Okay, yeah, you just been
But when
wrong
you're as
today,
old as
Paul.
me,
I'm
decades just run together.
your reliability, Paul, and credibility is taking a little hit with Svelte and now the date of Hoffenheim.
I know
And
nobody's gonna believe anything I ever say.
I don't even know what to do. I while Paul's looking that up, Greg, I do want to ask: did you listen to the Paul Caligari episode we did that was kind of blew Paul and I away? I don't know. There was a lot of stuff there about the $1 billion goal that was interesting. So
I have a story about that. Is that a surprise, Phil?
what?
That I have a story about Paul Caligari?
No, there's no
No.
surprise whatsoever with anything, Greg.
Okay.
What's come
So
today?
my sister went to a school in Southern California, called Cal Poly Pomona. It's where she met her
Yes.
husband.
And he
And
coached.
at the time that she was playing soccer for the women's team, Paul Caligari was the men's team coach.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I went down there to visit her. And I wrote a love letter. That's the only way I can describe it. A love letter to Paul Caligari about what his goal against Trinidad and Tobago meant to me as a human. And I'm slipping the note under the door, and he opens the door. And I kid you not, asked Paul about it, and and we have a conversation. He's like, I have no idea if he has that letter still, but I remember when he was running for U.S. soccer president, I ran into him. And because I run a college club soccer thing and I have votes in the federation, he's like, let me take you out to lunch. And it was in Philly, and we went and sat down and chatted about whatever we did. And it was in the, who preceded, um, um, the current president, whose name escapes me right now.
I don't remember.
Cindy
I don't
Parlow.
remember.
So
Cindy
the guy
Parlow
who
is the
had,
current president, right?
yeah, who was the one
Yeah,
who had
she's
to step
current.
down? Who had to step down? I can't remember the guy's name.
Was that Sunil?
No, it was the guy after him. It was the guy who was crooked, and he had to step
Oh,
down.
I don't know. I don't
Anyway,
want to get too political.
yeah, it's
Yeah, I
not.
don't know. I don't know.
Well, it was FIFA was has some
Oh,
issues. Okay,
Hoffenheim Stadium. Wait, wait, wait.
get it into focus, Paul.
Oh,
There we
Dun,
go.
dun, dun, dun. I don't know what that is.
1899.
Yeah, great stadium.
Hoffenheim. That's the song that I just made up for Hoffenheim.
The people are going to celebrate your song.
So I will ask Paul about that. He probably, knowing Paul and what I've learned about Paul, considering we met because he went to my dad's estate sale and found my grandpa's identification from the World War II Merchant Marines, and then found me, searched me on the internet, found me, even though my grandpa's name was different from folks. This is all in the interview. It's fascinating. I'm guessing he's probably got that letter that you sent framed somewhere in his house, that his kids will find someday, and they'll be like, some dude had a crush on my dad. This is weird, but that's cool. We lost Greg. Where did he go?
Where's
Nothing is
Greg?
there.
Where is
There he
Greg?
is. Okay, so
Where? Oh,
Paul,
I'm lost
I'm
again.
going to
Hold
give
on.
you the opportunity, Paul.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
this
We gotta
fun.
start landing the plane here.
Yes, we are landing. We
Land the
are
plane.
not start landing. We're landing. So you get to land this plane, Paul, with a question that Greg can answer in less than 2 minutes.
I don't know that I have a question unless it's a yes or no question that would qualify for that. But I will say, Greg, I mean, I think because you're obviously a learner, I want to know what is, and this is one of our normal questions, but is there something that you've read, watched, or listened to lately that has been really impactful on your soccer leadership? I think that'd be a great question for you in 2 minutes or less.
That could be
What's the
like
most recent
35
thing that
minutes,
you've
Paul.
read?
Three words. Start with why.
Good.
That's it.
Yep.
Go from there. And then, so go from there. Now look at all the little pieces that that go along with your why. And so think of it like a pyramid, right? So first you have 3, 2, 1, then you build another base and another base and another base as well. So how are the pyramids built? I don't know, but you have a certain knowledge base, and so your why is a certain direction, and then you go, okay, I now have more knowledge. Am I still in the same why as I was now that I have more knowledge? Probably not. So I have to readjust. That's why we set daily intentions. It's why we set goals. And so, for me, start with why. It's one of the things that, as a club consultant that I do, organizational leadership, community development, the things that I care most passionate about. It's start with why. So why? So start with why organizationally, and then go individually through your 360 analysis of who are you, what's your community, what's its history, what's its current state, what's its desires, and then slowly, brick by brick, block by block, move towards that. And don't expect it to
Awesome.
happen overnight. Don't get frustrated when it doesn't happen when you want it. Don't throw a temper tantrum, right? Just be like, okay, we're not there yet. And we won't get there where you want to go. We're not going to get there yet. We're never going to get there, because that's what our future generation, they live on, and they see what we've done and they progress it. That's the legacy.
Well, start
Love
with
it.
why, folks. If you don't know the reference, Simon Sinek, he's the one who wrote a book, Start with Why. He's got a TED Talk, Start With Why. The TED Talk, I recommend starting with that. Start with the TED Talk to start with why. And that'll give you kind of the gist. And they made a whole book on it that kind of expanded on that. But you can get the idea. There's so much to it. And I totally agree with that. It's a great place to end and wrap this up. Greg, thanks,
Well,
man. Appreciate you.
I will
We're gonna
say,
get you back on to go to your.
no, we got to go back. An episode of Cribs. What is in Greg Rubendall's house? If
I
these are the
don't know.
things he talks about, episode of Cribs. Who's out there? MTV Cribs. What the heck is in his house?
Okay, so
I
Wilson.
think it'd be a great episode.
Yes, and Wilson, Greg you lost your chance. So
Missed it.
sorry, you missed it. So thanks, Greg. Grateful for you. We'll definitely get you back
Yep.
on. We'll definitely have more of these. I don't know if our audience can handle it though. Their brain
When
is
I
probably exploding right now.
hey,
So
when I have my podcast, which I've already set up, it's going to be called The Road Warrior.
there it
And
is.
so what we will do is a split. You get the first half, then the other half will be on mine. And
Wow.
then we'll
That'll be fun.
just go from there. Either you like it, you don't like it. Right? Are you gonna wait after halftime to watch the second half?
Interesting. There it is. I
All
like
right.
it. I like it. Let's do it. It's a
Good
date.
teaser right there.
All right,
What's
folks. Well,
coming?
there you go. Road Warrior. Look out for it. If you like this with Greg, definitely check that out because you can get as much. You can get you can overdose on Greg Rubendall if you want with the Road Warrior. We'll get that in the show notes. And folks, just thank you for being a part of this conversation. We love that you're part of it. We're encouraged. Hope that you're using what you're learning from this show and you're just using it in every area of your life. If you want to learn more about what Warrior Way and Paul and Marcy are doing down there in Waco, you can check that out in the show notes. If you want to learn more about the disc training that we mentioned earlier, you can check that out in the show notes as well. But as always, folks, we hope that you're taking what you're learning from the show and you're using it to be a better coach, a better player, a better leader, a better spouse, a better parent, better in everything that you do. And you continually remind yourself, soccer does explain life and leadership. Thanks a lot. Have a great couple weeks.